got 25 minutes. We gotta go.
Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. It's Hump Day Wednesday and we're excited to be with you for another episode of Say That Channel.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday.
So if this is your first time joining us, welcome to Say That Nation. Welcome to our community of small business owners, entrepreneurs, network marketers. We are all here for you. And what we specialize in is talking about the ugly come up. So you know how you hear these stories about people who have like nothing and then all of a sudden they have massive success. But it's like, what happens in the middle? What happens during that ugly come up? Well, we are unapologetic about talking about that ugly come up. That is where we are. That is where we live. That is what we stand for.
And something exciting that we've been doing in this new season that we're in now has been reviewing and checking out other contents from other entrepreneurs and good, information that they're giving us about how to educate ourselves in different ways. And we've been having a lot of success and a lot of fun with that. And so today we're going to jump into another one of those videos and review that. The question today, let's get that drum roll, is...
Are we being financially prepared to be adults?
Adulting. This is definitely another one that we're going to be excited to jump into. The guys from EYL had a conversation around this topic, so we are going to jump into that convo with them. All right, let's check this one out, guys. Again, leave your comments in the comments below.
Parents are draining their retirement to support adult children. What are 3 things parents can do to better prepare their children financially? This is something we haven't talked about a lot recently. In the past, we've talked about, how to plan for your child, 529 plans, UTMAs, different things of that nature, but we haven't had the parenting conversation in a while. And this is a different aspect of it, from not necessarily a young child, but an adult child. Which is called, this is a real conversation. Because a lot of parents are drained financially and emotionally from adult children. Adult children that are living with them, that are dependent on them, that they have to take care of their children, their children's children. So this is another financial situation that, parents, it doesn't always end when the child turns 18.
No.
Sometimes 25, 26, 32. 32 sometimes. 38.
Maybe, keep going.
So let's talk about it.
Yeah. I think that you got to start with the root of why they're taking care of their adult children, right? Like, what is the cause? Like, when we talked about symptoms of what is causing the root problem, we always started with education. And if they don't have education, if they don't have a skill, what do? But even when they do have education, it becomes even more of a significant problem, right? Because student loan debt is a real thing, right? So if people accrue more student loan debt, then they don't have the financial stability to even pay rent or try to live on their own. So now they're at home trying to pay things off and they can't afford it. So I think when you look at it from a standpoint, it all comes back to education. Number one, are we teaching them skills that they can survive on their own with outside of the 9-to-5 job?
Yeah.
Because what we've seen with the 9-to-5, even when you get out of school, you're not making enough money to even pay back the loan, but you may not even be making enough money to support yourself, right? And so if we can figure out that part first, then I think that the latter kind of becomes less of an issue, where people are now figuring out, look, I raised you, I put you through school, but now I got to take care of you after because you can't support yourself.
Yeah.
I mean,
go ahead, Rashad.
I think that it's a variety of different things, and it's a sensitive topic because sometimes you can do so much for a child, and it just doesn't turn out the way that you would hope it turned out. So then you're faced with 2 options. you put your child on the street and let them be homeless. Probably not going to happen.
Right.
You can say that, but when it comes to that moment, you know, parents always love their children, and especially like a mother is going to love their child forever. It's the maternal instinct. So it becomes difficult not to say yes, even if you can't afford to say yes, right? You kind of find a way to say, okay, I'll help you with this bill. You can stay over. That turns into you stay over for a month. You stay over for 2 years. So it's not a simple answer, but you can do things that I think you can do things to actually help avoid the situation. So of course you want to educate your children young. Of course, that's that. You want to, invest for them and have, some financial stability that they can actually have when they graduate. So they're not starting with zero. That puts them, the college thing is very important. You have to be extremely educated on that process, because that could be a tremendous burden. Like you said, as far as student loan is crippling a lot of people, it's crippling children and it's crippling parents. So it's like, okay, what's the best way? Are we gonna go to state school? Are we gonna go to community college for 2 years? Like, I think you have to, what degree, that's important. You got to strongly encourage your children to go, if you're gonna go to college, don't waste your time getting a degree where it's not even gonna mean anything when you graduate. Right? What does the occupation look like? Are you going to have to go for a 4-year degree, or do you need a master's degree? You need a doctorate degree? I think every person should have a sales job at some point, commission based only, because that teaches you the art of actually having to get out there and figure things out. Critical thinking and just being able to hustle. And I feel like, that's important. Even if you're not going to become an entrepreneur, you got to have that kind of mindset. So to encourage a child, I don't care if you're selling knives when you a kid or you selling whatever, like, you got to, they got those things where you
whatever
sell
legally.
Yeah.
Whatever legally.
Well, in London, they got a knife problem, but in America, I don't think anybody's selling knives on the black market. So it's not like 1900.
Yo,
like,
I'm laughing because I remember when
I went to
you had to sell knives. Yeah, it's real. I don't think this generation knows that.
I was trying to sell knives. That's
a fact. I remember
when I was 16 years old. I was trying. A company recruited me
to sell.
They set me down. They said, "Look, you can make $1,000 a week if you sell it." I said, "Sign me up."
Yeah, there was that. Then there was coffee. I remember before it was like Easterland boots. It was crazy. Like anything you can say.
So you got to get out there and sell things. But that.
All right, let's jump into it. Oh, Janelle, I need you to.
This is so interesting. So for those of you who just joined us, we're watching a video by EYL. Thanks, Don. And so far, what I have to say is a couple of things I wrote down. Why are parents taking on their adult kids? The question was, are kids being educated? Is it their student loan debt? And do they have the skills to live outside of their 9 to 5? I think these are excellent questions that parents can start thinking about, as their kids are teenagers. I think the student loans bit, how it's crippling young adults and their parents, is like ding, 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 ding. I think we need to talk more about this. People aren't talking about it enough. And the idea that like everybody should at least have a commission only based job in order to understand like critical thinking and just kind of like the hustle. Like if you understand how, a commission based job works, then you'll probably more understand even like why your boss does what they do, or like how your job is even like created, whatever 9 to 5 you eventually work for, if that's like the route that you take, if you don't end up being an entrepreneur full time. So I thought it was really interesting. And now they're bringing up network marketing companies as like an entryway into entrepreneurship for many people. I would agree with this. I think it's a great entryway to get started. And there are many young people who've actually, made $1,000 per week, etc., through network marketing. So it's definitely a great way to start being an entrepreneur. It's like a business in a box.
Yeah, I mean, my first network marketing company was Cutco. It was while I was in school, in college, and went to a meeting, saw a flyer, and they were like, "How you can make?" I think it was $1,000 a week or something like that. And I mean, I didn't want to work at the supermarket anymore, so decided to go and bought a set of knives and sold a bunch over the summer. So, you know, I definitely know that. I love where this video's just to your point, Janelle, the questions that these guys have brought forward. It's something that was interesting to me, though, in terms of the way that I think it's not stigma, but I think even just the way that they're looking at the idea of families having to move back in. I definitely can attest to the point of and I saw Jeannie threw it in the comments about having to pay off. I tried that last week. Having to pay off student loan debt. I just paid off my last one, and I've been out of school for and I didn't go to graduate school, just regular undergrad, and I just paid off one of my loans I want to say 2 years ago.
Still have mine. My mom still has hers. She's a lawyer. She got her doctorate in, Juris Doctor. Yeah. She got her Juris Doctor.
Yes. So. And for many of us, the idea was you went to get a degree because you believed it was going to get you a certain level of income. And they're 100% right. The money you're making. I remember the job I got offered out of school. First off, I was told I was overqualified, which is really weird to me. But they were only offering like maybe $38,000 a year. You know, you can't live on your own doing that.
Not in New York.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. And then that obviously plays another role into it. But again, the thing that was throwing me off is there's a lot of cultures where it's very normal. And I'm going to say certain cultures where they all live together. So generations live in the same household. Mm-hmm. And it's actually been found statistically, financially, they actually do way better than families that, again, and they're right. Education plays a role because you should definitely probably have something that's bringing in multiple streams of income. But essentially, those families do well in some areas where the ones that are out, struggling, each family's struggling, but can't all, you know what I mean? Aren't really doing their best. It's actually more detrimental for those families. So I think it's interesting the context that these guys are looking at in terms of having to move back home with your within your home, moving back home with your family.
The last thing I'll say, and try to say in 10 seconds or less, there are some people who have figured out, thank you. Congratulations, Winston, on paying off one of your loans. There are many people who have figured out ways to pay it off. So I know several of my colleagues, I just learned, paid theirs off because they worked at an institution that's considered like in line with like if you work at a government institution or a nonprofit institution for a particular number of years, you are qualified to get your loans forgiven. Mm-hmm. And so several of my colleagues have, and it kind of shook me up because I was like, how come like I didn't have that conversation, but they mm-hmm. did. Like, I don't know if their families talked to them about it, but I just thought again, it's about education. So even about student loans, do you understand that there are certain loans that can be forgiven? Are you lined up and positioned for that type of a thing? So anyway, I think this is very interesting. Let's go.
No, absolutely. All right.
That brings out a certain when you have to really go out there and work and there's no safety net and you got to figure things out. I think that wires your brain, and I think you have to at some point make children less dependent on you, whether that's sending them to school, mm-hmm. whether that's saying no to them, whether that's like you got to find ways to cut back entitlements. So they develop that sense and that urgency that I gotta get it on my own, because the more you help somebody, it's the chicken and the egg strategy. Remember Director X?
We revisited this conversation 2 weeks ago. Yes.
So The thing about it is, and I'll just briefly summarize it. It was like there was a science experiment done where it was a chicken inside of an egg, and they had like the regular ones that was just in the incubator, and they broke out and they was just regular ones. And then there was ones that they really like coddled and they did special treatment for and all of that. And they actually hurt the development of the chicken. So it's like, I can help you, but I'm not going to help you, because if I help you, I'm going to hurt you.
Yeah.
let's pause. Just really let that sink in.
Yeah.
If I help you, I'm going to hurt you.
So the next time somebody asks you for help, think about it. Think about, is it really worth it, or are you going to hurt the person? So it's like, I'm not going to help you because if I help you, I'm going to hurt you.
No, I'm helping you by not helping you.
I'm helping you by not
That's
helping
the best
you,
help.
and I don't want to hurt you because it's like a crutch, right? At some point, you got to figure out how to walk on your own.
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying.
If you constantly helping people all the time, you're doing them a disservice because they're never strong enough to survive on their own.
So that's the question, right? And I know I want to hear your take too, but it's like, at what point do you not become the crutch, especially for parents? Because there's a lot of parents that are like, even in the chat now, they're like, yo, my kids live with me now, or there's adults saying like, yo, I'm 29, I'm back home with moms. Mm-hmm. At what point as a parent do you not help, right? Even let's say like you said, it could cripple you from a financial standpoint if you didn't have it, but there are some parents who do have it, and they are still helping. At what point is there a point?
I don't have the answer, but I know for me, even with Xander being 8 now, I'm pouring a lot more into him to make sure that he, even though he's fine, he knows how to generate revenue on his own. So I think as they hit these ages of maturity, of course, number one, education is key, but you have to teach them how to build a business, and it may involve you building it with them. But we were talking earlier, like, look at everyone who thought entrepreneurship was crazy in 2015 to 2016, and now the entire world is forced to be entrepreneurs. Same thing with AI. Like, if we do not learn this AI thing, and I'm going to be super hot take. If you think that the wealth gap is bad now, wait till they figure out how to make all these apps talk to each other so they never have to hire anybody black or brown again.
It won't be a wage gap. There'll be no wages. There won't be any wages for people. So like a certain population of people, there'll be no wages if you can't create a source of income for yourself. That's certain point.
So you have to just start early, like with your child, and help them build. I don't know when to cut it off. And it's something that I've danced with amongst family and friends, like how to help versus helping too much, giving too much, and then also taking it away. Like, it's a delicate balance, but I think the real solution is to help people build so that they can be able to produce their own fruit from their own labor and their own ideas. But the era of like waiting until kids 18, 19, 20, 22 to teach them about money, I think you got to teach your kids from 5. If your kids are over 5 years old, you got to start teaching them now.
And some things are just intangible. The last point I'll make about this is that society, and this is why it's like the money conversation is great. You got to teach kids about money, but this is why, like, I put my son in basketball. I don't really care if he makes it to the NBA. That's not the goal. The goal is that you got to develop a thick skin. Like, you got to develop competition. Like, if somebody's talking down to you, you gotta fight for yourself. Mm-hmm. Like, you gotta defend yourself in this world. And it's like sports is a great way to do that. Every now and then you gotta get into a fight too. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that has to happen at some point in time. You gotta fight. Like, you gotta defend yourself. Like, you gotta go through adversity in order to build a certain character. I feel like social media and this whole world has taken a lot of people out of that realm where it's like men don't even really want to even have conflict anymore. And it's not to say like conflict is the great way to go, but I'm like an internal conflict for yourself. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you down on it's nothing wrong with being down on your luck and having to move back in. You know, hard times happen, but you got to fight within yourself. Like,
how do you bounce back?
Some Rocky, like, you got to get on some Rocky. Like, I'm up at 5 o'clock every morning and I'm jumping rope and I'm getting back in my vibe. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Internal fortitude.
I feel like social media has made a generation softer, and everybody gets participation trophies, and everybody's equal, and nobody's in competition with anybody. And this leads to grown-ups that are okay just playing video games and watching YouTube channels about academics dissing Charlemagne, like, you know what I'm saying, or whoever, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
leave Big Ack alone.
Please. No, and shout out to our professional gamers.
But I'm just using that as an example.
I know,
like, you know what I'm saying? Like, these guys is watching on YouTube making videos about YouTubers making videos about a YouTuber.
Yeah.
It's like a YouTuber is a commentary on a YouTuber making a video about a YouTuber, and then a spin on that. And then they're in the comment, like, you're 38 years old and you have time to watch a video like that
and make a video.
Well, it says a lot about why you're at where you're at.
Shout out to everyone who tunes into academics though, and Whack 100.
Yeah, I think you said it, and I'll just reiterate it, man. That exposure piece is the other part. So education plus the exposure, right? And so, like, I remember you told a story where you put $3,000 on the bed, and your son saw it. So I did it the other day. I had some cash and I put it out, and my son was like, "How much is this?" I was like, "Count it." And when he counted, he was like, "Oh." He's like, "Can I bring it with me to school?" I said, "No, we're not gonna do that.
Put the money on the table.
No, we're not gonna do that."
I'm
like, "This isn't your money." But the next thing he asked me is like, "Can we go to the bank and take $1,000 out of my money so I could just have it?" I'm like, "What do you need it for?" He's like, "I just want to have it to know that I have it." Yep. And it was like the exposure. So like things like that, exposing them to money, taking them to the bank, even if you're paying your mortgage, bring them to the bank with you. Show them what that process is like. If you're paying rent, show them when you write the check, what that looks like, right? When you're opening up accounts, take them, right? When you're purchasing things, take them.
Show them,
I'll tell you, one of the best lessons is when you go out to eat, right? And you figure out your tip or figure out what taxes. Like, these are lessons that people are just taking for granted, but they're happening every day. Like, you go out with your kid, the bill comes, it's like, all right, it's just a hidden thing, and you pass it on. Like, no, this is how much everything costs. This is how much we're going to pay. This is what 20% of this amount is, right? That's what we're leaving for somebody. Well, why we got to pay them that? Well, this is their wage, right? And so for order them to make a living, they have to get tips. Yep. There's financial lessons in everything. We just overlook them. So these are opportunities to expose them at their age for things that are appropriate.
My graduates from my school.
This was so good.
Yeah, I love that.
Shout out to all the people who are making comments on other YouTubers, because now we've just done that, by the way. I was laughing. I was like, this is so meta right now, because we are YouTubers commenting on their
YouTubers.
Yeah.
No, but they had a great point, man. From the AI comment that he made earlier into where he broke it down towards the end in terms of just practical knowledge. I know so many kids that when they get into, I guess, that real world, don't know what it's like to pay bills, have no concept of like, wait, you have to pay for electricity? It's like, yeah. And it's because their parents just had them in this weird, space where they just made it seem like none of those things existed for them.
I agree. I mean, growing up, I remember like it was considered rude if you looked at the check and like somebody else paid for it for you, like including my parents or somebody else's parents or whatever. Like you just kind of like let it go. But if my parents would have been like, no, this is where we are. And I mean, they did it later, like when I got older and it was just us, like they might be like, what's the tip? Because they thought I was good at math. So they were like, figure the math out.
Oh, nice, nice.
But that kind of a thing to that end,
exposed you though.
Yeah, it puts a practical nature to why do you need to know your multiplication table, right? Like for things like this. I will say paying rent, paying bills does seem like a mystery for me as a kid. I don't remember knowing what that looked like. And I think the transition started to happen around college when like I started to have things due. Or like I had to, or just going grocery shopping by myself. Like I never went grocery shopping by myself before college, but that's like a skill, right? Like how much money do I have so I know how much food I can buy at the supermarket. That's a skill set, right? Like, so not being afraid of money. Like for me, I have to tell you, like it was like kind of like, ooh, I'm approaching something that's like, I don't know, just like it wasn't talked about. And so
it's taboo.
It's taboo. Taboo. Yeah.
Yeah. What's interesting is, and this is back to maybe a little bit earlier in the video when he was talking about entrepreneurship. And I can attest to many of, I went to college, but I grew up around a mom who was very entrepreneurial, and she did network marketing. She, bought real estate and did that. And, funny enough, I ended up in all of those industries. Network marketing and real estate. And it's because I watched, and mind you, I went to school for economics, but all of that to say, what you're exposed to 100% influences how you are as an adult. And so I definitely can attest to, again, just what you're watching kids be around dictates why many of the people, and he did make, because even when he mentioned the whole YouTubers, you commenting about YouTubers, it hit me in a way where there are people who are just putting that content out and all they're doing is talking poorly about other videos, and they're building a culture of just our in terms of stuff like that. It's like the idea of being on a show like this or having content like theirs is about recognizing that what we are having conversations around and what we're watching does matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so the videos we're going to review on here is definitely going to be something where for us, it's not, we're never getting on here to talk crap about somebody else or whatever. I'm looking to watch a video like what Janelle and I talked about when we thought about this, is like, what are we really watching that's helping us in our everyday life? You know what I mean? Like, if you check out the Monday rundowns, a lot of that content is not necessarily about business, because there are obviously other aspects of our lives. And they talked about it. There are other aspects. I have a child, so some of the stuff they talked about hit me in a way that, maybe for Janelle, that type of information is not the same, but as a educator, there are things that she has to do in terms of the kids that she's around, or adults, literally actually people who are transitioning into adulting, that she has to mentor with what she has to do for her job. So, I think
I just want to bring this up to your point of being a professor. So like, this is a real thing. When I was in graduate school, there were certain textbooks that were like recommended. And I was like, I can't afford that textbook. So I went to the library and I made copies. That's like a real thing. But like, you do what you have to do. I think learning how to do what you need to do in order to that scrappiness, like resourcefulness, I think is very necessary. Otherwise, people will just kind of like,
I 100% agree.
Sit back and be like, well, I guess,
As someone's worked 2 commission jobs, I can tell you there's very different when you come to work and let's say you don't maybe put in the best effort, but you're getting a check every 2 weeks, and you come into work, and even when you bust your butt, somebody doesn't rent the apartment. I remember days where I've showed 6 apartments, nobody bought, nobody wanted to rent anything. And I knew if I didn't get out and do the same thing tomorrow, I may not get a check at the end of the month. I got paid at the end of every month. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm guaranteed money at the end of this month. You had to go out and you had to do the work. There's some obviously job where people, leave their office and they just go hang out in the park and just relax. You know what I mean? And they're right. Our culture now is very different. I don't necessarily know if it was social media, but I could definitely tell you, like, even luxuries like working from home, and I'm not against any of these things, but there's so many things that I remember for me, that wasn't an option for many jobs. So kids now, they're looking at a world that's just so different. You can be somebody on playing video games and make millions of dollars now. That's something that I remember when I was growing up, wasn't even you couldn't. That was like, you were playing video games was a waste of time because you were told to go get an education. You know what I mean? Something that, again, we just said in the beginning, paying off 20 years later.
Yeah,
still paying off with jobs that aren't paying you a minimum wage. Like, the gap is the thing he's talking about with AI. Oh man.
Well, okay. Please put your comments in the chat. Like, if you found this valuable, if you share this, like, if you feel that this information more people should know, like, certainly share.
My bad.
I really loved what Don had to share about how you can use index universal life insurance in order to pay off your student loans. Yeah, thank you for that tip. So definitely go look out for that. But this has been a great conversation. I'm so glad that they did this episode. I'm glad that we brought it to you guys so we could talk about this, because this is really important as we like look at the next generation and move forward, because we don't want to keep doing the same thing that our parents did, right? Like, we want to help the generation. Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
If you guys have any other resources, definitely just throw that in the comments below. And we, again, always appreciate you guys who are here with us live and everybody who's watching the replay.
Yes.
So as we take it out, guys, join us again next week. But for now,
as always,
remember,
you deserve
the good life.
Say that.
We'll see you guys next week. Be safe.